Despite the violin being so difficult to learn and play, there are actually a lot of great violinists out there. Enough, in fact, that many of them have fallen through the cracks. Let's fix that, shall we? I'm Tobiah Murphy, and this is Murphy Music Academy. Now, if you're new here, I usually just make videos about violin technique, so if that's something you're into, you're definitely going to want to subscribe. But lately, I've decided to branch out into a few new topics like the one we're going over today. So if at any point in this video you find yourself really enjoying the video, go ahead and hit that like button. So for the first entry on this list, Czech violinist Váša Příhoda. Příhoda was one of the world's top violin virtuosos, performing all over the world with great success and acclaim. Unfortunately, his career was stunted by that which so often interferes with great artists: politics. You see, Váša did not believe that borders should determine whether or not someone gets to hear great music, even if those borders happen to be Germany and German-occupied Czechoslovakia during World War II, where he continued to perform regularly. When the war ended, he was officially labeled as a collaborator by the Czech government and officially censured. This forced him to move abroad if he was going to continue having any sort of performing career, eventually settling in Turkey of all places. Now, he did come back to his home country 20 years later, but by that point, the damage was done. So while we can't give him his career back, we can certainly renew his legacy as one of the best violinists of yesteryear. Next on this list, we have another great interpreter of Paganini, Albanian violinist Tedi Papavrami. Probably one of the most brilliant techniques on this list, Papavrami has probably one of the most incredible recordings of the 24 Caprices that I've ever heard. Being one of the few violinists that can actually perform all 24 Caprices in one concert. And have the end sound just as good as the beginning. Now, Mr. Papavrami certainly does have a very successful performing career, but he's certainly not as well known as I think he should be. So go ahead and give his YouTube channel a subscribe and his performances a good listen. Now, number 3 on the list, Armenian violinist Sergey Khachatryan. Now, I first heard of Khachatryan when I was about 12 years old, and I was reading an article about the International Violin Competition of Indianapolis, where he had won second prize at the age of 17. I then realized, hey, I will be 16 at the next competition, the youngest age of eligibility. I wonder if I can practice hard enough to be good enough to be in the International Violin Competition of Indianapolis. As you might have guessed, that didn't happen, but if it wasn't for the inspiration I got from Mr. Khachatryan, I probably would not have worked so hard and not gotten to the level where I am today. He's definitely one of the most fiery and enigmatic performers on this list, and definitely should be a go-to when you want to listen to the Shostakovich Violin Concerto. So for the penultimate entry on this list, I've chosen a violinist that, while not exactly obscure, was certainly overshadowed. Igor Oistrakh. Oistrakh was such a brilliant violinist that I tend to think that even if David Oistrakh didn't exist, the name Oistrakh would have been synonymous with great violin playing. However, David Oistrakh did exist, and even though by all accounts he was a very encouraging father, there was just no way he was not overshadowing his son. But there are many brilliant recordings of him all over YouTube, a particular favorite of mine being this recording of La Campanella. Now, finally on this list, we have Chinese violinist Tianwa Yang. Miss Yang first came on my radar because she was probably one of the only other violinists besides Perlman and Heifetz that recorded one of my favorite obscure violin concertos, Mario Castelnuovo Tedesco's No. 2, I Profeti. And while I certainly wish her all the success and fame in the world, one benefit of having some brilliant but lesser-known violinists is that they tend to try to make their mark by recording things that other people haven't recorded. In this instance, besides the Castelnuovo Tedesco Violin Concerto, Miss Yang has also recorded the entire works of Pablo de Sarasate, which made me aware of this very interesting Spanish Celtic dance, the Muñeira. Yes, that is Spanish music. Well, Galician, technically. But if it wasn't for her taking on this incredible recording project, I would have no idea that some of these really neat pieces existed. Anyway, I am thinking about making this a regular series, so if there's any violinists that you think I should put in the next video in this series, please put them down in the comments. As always, I've been Tobias Murphy for Murphy Music Academy, always here to remind you there is no pleasure in mediocrity. Happy practicing, and I'll see you next time.